Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max.
Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. This episode of Geek Tank Radio is brought to you by the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Radio Listeners. They haven't sent the check yet, so all's fair.
I'm just trying to figure out what the acronym is.
The POCTRL. Okay, I don't know what it sounds like something.
Potato chips to me.
Sounds like a porta potty repair station, but. Anyway, welcome to Geek Tank Radio, everybody.
I have to love it. 2023, and Joe still goes for the toilet humor, and Allan still goes for food.
Our show, I'm just a stone's throw away from porta potty repairs. I love it.
Exactly. But anyway, welcome to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max behind the glass, and 2023's punching bag, Brandon Olmstead.
That's for
Brandon.
That's for damn sure. I'm just sorry.
What is going on? Brandon is literally every week we get a story of woe.
What I'm figuring is that sometime between December 15th and Christmas Eve, I pissed off a witch.
You did something. I don't know what. Because Brandon, every
I'm going to refrain from comment.
Okay.
This makes me think of Job.
All right. So
yeah, Job.
So
exactly.
So we'll go through this. All right. We right off the bat, Christmas Eve, we were out of town. Luckily, only about 30 minutes outside of town when a pipe burst in our attic, flooded the house. Due to so many other people having that issue, because Mother Nature apparently decided Memphis hadn't frozen enough in the past few years. Had that, so everything got backed up. Then the Friday night of ShadowCon, on the way back to my grandmother's house where me and my wife were having to stay, the transmission goes out in my Trailblazer.
Right. And we were all enjoying sort of a great, it was a fun ShadowCon. We were all in a great mood, and then all of a sudden, boom.
But if you notice, I showed up Saturday
strikes.
and I was in just as good a mood, but I think it was because I had a mental break.
Yeah.
I had to buy a new vehicle, which I'm really enjoying. They dropped off the Trailblazer in front of my house, and this past week, in the span of 4 hours, me going by the house and checking at noon, and then going back to the house about 4:30, someone towed off my Trailblazer, but it wasn't the city. It wasn't a nuisance call on a vehicle that seemed abandoned. Someone literally stole my Trailblazer.
Are we
not
sure?
Working 5,000-pound paperweight.
The non-working 5,000-pound paperweight got
swiped.
Yeah.
Could it have dematerialized? Could the Earth's rotation?
I would not be a bit surprised if when the Earth stopped rotating, the core stopped rotating a couple weeks, a week or so ago, it just vanished into the Earth. When things get back to normal, it may reappear, and it'll probably reappear as my other vehicle is sitting there and wreck it.
Is it going to do what they did in the Marvel movie? The post-split people, just 5 years later, they're just back?
Pretty much, yeah.
Thanos took my truck.
Well, Brandon, the good news is it can't possibly
Holy
get worse.
crap.
I think the second part of 2023
Stop
is
saying
going to...
that, Joe. All right, now
it's going to be a good one.
Brandon is
I'm not in therapy yet, but I am going all zen.
He's going to voodoo curse your squirrels back if you're not careful.
Okay. But anyway, the fact that Brandon shows up with a smile on his face, that's an achievement.
There's
in and
still
of
so
itself.
much good geekness out there.
Well, I thought he was wearing a do-rag. I didn't realize he was actually wearing a skull cap to keep his brain intact.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
It's also cold out there. So.
Okay,
It's covering the tinfoil hat that's under his hat.
I figure I've got to protect my hair. I mean, look what happened to you guys.
So to set the table, Brandon alluded to it, and in science, this is I don't know if this is one of these just news-grabbing clickbait things, but apparently the Earth's core has stopped rotating.
You are going to yell clickbait.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you now. You're going to yell clickbait, but it is important science.
Okay, and it's
not like it doesn't happen all the time anyway.
Well, I know.
Right, and and then also we have the de-extinction of the dodo, which I hope we have time.
No.
Oh, we gotta talk about it.
We don't need to talk about that. It's the same as those guys who keep trying to bring back dinosaurs. It's a bad idea.
Oh no. Think about it. A 5-pound drumstick.
I don't want to eat a dodo bird, Allan.
Yeah, I was waiting for the food reference.
The only thing that's going to happen is if they bring them back, you're going to serve us one.
So it's KFD, Kentucky Fried Dodo.
Yeah. Anyway,
you almost had it, Max. You've been around Joe too long. You're starting to Yeah.
Okay, but let's kick things off to set to the at the top of the list today is of course James Gunn went out on and made an announcement. We saw the YouTube video. I'm sure it's on other platforms, but basically talking about phase 1 or they're calling it chapter 1 of the new DC plan. And this, Brandon, I just want to make sure I'm correct. It's comics, movies, video games, all TV, everything. Okay, and now they want to have a unified
called synergy.
Plan. Okay, so
what was that word again, Brian?
Synergy.
There you go. Oh, yeah.
So chapter 1 is called Gods and Monsters.
Right.
And do you want to care to explain what we're looking at?
I don't know if I have enough time in this segment to actually get into it.
So,
But basically what we're seeing right here is that we're going to go ahead and tell you that you've got 4 movies that are coming out this year that are going to finish off what has been the DCEU.
Okay.
And then we're going to kick off the DCU with some animated projects, an HBO Max series, and then we're going to get our very first movie in the new DCU. And then we're going to keep rolling from there. He has announced 10 titles, and these are only part of what's going on right now. But I want to go ahead and, with the time we have left in this segment, is I want to reassure some people.
Yeah.
One of the things he did hit on is the fact that things like Matt Reeves' Batman universe, which consists of the Batman 2, which is coming out October of 2025, as well as the new Penguin series that's coming to HBO Max. Todd Phillips' Joker 2, Folie Deux, and things like Teen Titans Go are going to start being labeled with the DC Studios Elseworlds, designation. They will be in their own little pocket universe where, it's like nothing that's going on in the DCU is going to affect what Matt Reeves is doing with the Batman. The Batman is going to continue doing, going along his storyline, and they're working together to make sure that they don't have storylines that basically collide against one another.
Okay.
Todd Phillips is doing his Joker sequel, and honestly, it's a musical, so I don't know how it's going to work. I'm going to go see it.
I mean, I'm going to see it because the first one was one of my favorite movies of all time, but man, I just don't know how I feel about this. It's like...
I say go into it and don't think of it as a sequel to what you've already gotten.
Yeah.
Think of it where, every once in a while, like let's say Alan Grant or Alan Moore comes in to write a graphic novel based on characters, Think of this as the musical version of that. Instead of Alan Moore, it's Lin-Manuel Miranda coming in and writing the Joker.
This seems like it could go off the rails very easily, so I don't know.
As if the first movie didn't.
Okay. Anyway, so that's what we're in for, and we're gonna continue because there's a lot more coming at you from DC. You're listening to Geek Tank Radio. We're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. We'll see who's laughing once the Velociraptor eggs hatch. The Geek Patrol is back.
Don't roll your eyes at me, Brandon. That's going to be a pivotal moment.
All that's going to happen is Alan's going to cook one.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends.
Cooked 2 of the eggs?
Oh, yeah. Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and our feisty Max over there behind the glass. With some
surrounded by the Velociraptors.
Absolutely, with the good rejoiners. If you're just tuning in, we are, among other things, we were recapping some of the woes that Brandon has suffered just 1 month into 2023. No need to keep visiting that, Brandon.
Yeah.
All your bad luck is over. Nothing but clear skies and smooth sailing the rest of 2023.
Tell that to Amazon.
Yeah.
Tell that to the Velociraptors.
So shortly, we're going to talk about the fact that, I don't even know if I believe this is the fact, or at least the story that the Earth's core somehow stopped spinning. And, everything seems normal to me, Alan.
It happened, and then it reversed. Haven't you noticed your hair's growing back?
See, I thought there was a movie about this a while ago.
There was. It's called The Core.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll talk about that.
That's
and
a
then
horrible movie.
The de-extinction of the Dodo, which is a fascinating, we knew this was coming.
Are we going to engage our cores?
We may.
We got to get a new producer.
That was kind of dumb, man. Okay. But before...
It's your fault. You've been a bad influence on him, Joe.
Before the break, we were talking about basically what we're calling this is the Chapter 1, because they don't want to use Phase 1, because that's what Marvel uses.
Well, they're calling it Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters because that makes more sense.
So Gods and Monsters is the new DC property. Basically, they're trying to unify the comics, the video games, the movies, and the TV shows. Right, Brandon, with sort of I don't want to say focus.
You're on the right track.
Okay,
but no, Gods and Monsters is just Chapter 1 of the new plan.
Is that the theme basically?
No, I mean,
I'm guess.
Well, they've DC has used this thing, this heading before.
Okay.
Gods and Monsters has to deal with the fact that the DC heroes are more, they're more of a paragon of entities. Even though you've got human base, you've got alien base, you've got people from Themyscira, you've got everything under the sun, but it's more, their heroes are more epic. Where your Marvel guys, even with gods like Thor, are considered more down to earth characters.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
yeah, that's true. Superman is as close to
Right. So, but we know that starting off, we have to deal with getting through what is it? We've got Shazam, Fury of the Gods. We've got The Flash, which resets the DCU. We've got Blue Beetle, which because it's so separate from what they've got already, it will easily fold into James Gunn's new process. And then we're going to have Aquaman 2. We still have those on the horizon right now. Then the first thing we're going to get is an animated series over on HBO Max called Creature Commandos. Which if you've ever checked out some old Golden Age DC, you had like Frankenstein's monster. You had characters that are heroic versions of your universal monsters for all intents and purposes.
Right.
Well, several years back during I think it was in the New 52, Grant Morrison may have even had a hand in it, but they got their own series.
Mm-hmm. They did.
And now you're going to get that in cartoon form. And it's been written by James Gunn.
I say, wasn't James going to write this
he
himself?
He wrote them because these are, and this is, because he wants to focus on big characters as well as your more obscure characters.
Can I just say something?
And just real quick, it is a period piece. It takes place in the past. The team is led by Rick Flag's dad.
Okay. There's a lot of there's some interesting projects that he noted. There's TV, there's and I'm
trying to go in order.
But what I want to say is he said something to me that was reassuring. He said that at the top of the, I don't know his exact verbiage, but more or less the top priority is story. I'm like, okay, good. I like that. He also said the other priority is to give whoever either the showrunner is or whoever is handling that project their own unique voice. So they don't want it to feel like, I guess they want a certain continuity, but they don't want it to feel kind of, I mean, I hate to say like all Marvel movies feel like a Marvel movie. It's Kevin Feige's
You can hit
thing.
On most of your Marvel properties, you can hit the button on your umpire's clicker when something's going to happen. You're like, oh, this is where this is going to happen. Oh, we're fixing to get the villain reveal. Oh,
right.
This is when we find out why the villain has a sympathetic backstory.
Yep. Even the filters, even the cinematography just feels the same. So I like that, and I hope he's telling. I hope that's going to carry through. Because if that happens, that's good.
And then we've got, because he's focusing right now on your first feature film of the new DCU. He can't really focus on what was going to be Peacemaker season 2. So to fill that gap, he has two people who are working on Waller, which is going to it's going to star Viola Davis, and it basically comes off of season 2 or season 1 of Peacemaker, and you're basically going to see how she interacts with various characters throughout the DCU, and you're going to see characters show up in this show that you haven't seen in the DCU yet, and the actors who play these characters who show up will continue to play them in other movies, other TV series, the animated series. They'll voice them in the video games.
Yeah, I like that. That sounds cool. So if Henry Cavill is, Superman, he's going to be in all those platforms. What I'm kind of
excited about on this one is they got Crystal Henry.
Yes.
One of the writers from Watchmen.
Yeah.
Is going to be one of the writers on this show.
So guys, if you are upset that Watchmen did not get a second season,
Henry's coming.
Follow the writer.
And how soon? Okay. Now, because there's shows, there's all sorts of stuff lined up.
These are both. One's an animated series and one's a live-action TV show. These are both going to be on HBO Max next year. And this is all leading up to Superman, which is, Legacy, which is being released on July of 2025.
Okay.
We've got a hard date on it. He's writing the script. He wants to show the balance between Kryptonian and Earthling with Clark. It's not an origin story from what he's let us know so far. It's going to be basically young reporter Clark Kent at the Daily Planet kind of deal. And they are going to lean heavily into truth, justice, and the American way. they have referred to him as kindness in a world that thinks kindness is old-fashioned.
And I think one of the neat counterpoints, and it's very easy to look at Supergirl and go, oh, isn't she cute? It's probably some teen movie, whatever. Supergirl is a very complex character, and she's kind of dark.
And it's going to be,
and
it's
she's
really
hard.
interesting
if she's written well.
And the thing about Supergirl is, which is also coming, is Supergirl Worlds of Tomorrow is going to be. She's more of a jaded character. She's seen all these people that she loved die. She was stuck on a giant floating rock, for years before being sent to Earth.
Right.
So yeah, it's she's a much different character.
Yeah, lots of good stuff. Go check out YouTube and check out the DC announcement. So, all right, well, hopefully we won't be extinct by the time we get back, because apparently the Earth's core stopped rotating.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. Did someone order a life-size statue of Optimus Prime? The Geek Patrol is back.
Just deliver that over here. So, anyway, welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody.
I told you to cancel his account, Brandon.
I'm Joe.
No, I can't do that.
I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max behind the glass, and our pal Brandon Olmstead, who I'm not looking at because I already know the expression on his face. And
no, dude, I totally agree with that one.
Okay,
that's
good.
That's one of your few smart purchases.
Well, it's a gift for Elvis, our buddy. Boda. Anyway.
Oh, he'll explode.
He'll love that. But anyway, hey, welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I teased before the break that we were going to talk about science, about the Earth's course not rotating, and Brandon reminded me that we only got to a tenth of what's going on.
We got 3 out of 10.
We got a few things to wrap up with our DC discussion. And if you're just tuning in, DC basically announced their new plans for video games, comic books, movies, and TV shows in a unified vision, you could say.
Right.
But and so far,
Synergy.
we like what we hear. I'm always cautiously optimistic, but I do like the things that James Gunn said.
I'm excited about Lanterns.
Okay.
I can't wait to see who they cast as Hal Jordan and John Stewart, but we're basically going to get to see Hal and John working together on a mystery that's kind of basically interwoven within all of James Gunn's plans here.
It's a Green Lantern TV show, which is probably a good idea because that's such a big universe. You can't do it in a
HBO
movie.
Max series. You're going to get, and he said you're going to see a lot of other Lanterns peppered in throughout, which means we'll probably get a chance to see Guy and Kyle, Simon Baz, Jessica Cruz. These are all Earth-based Lanterns.
Right.
Who knows who else we're going to see? Hopefully, we'll get a couple of flashbacks with Sinestro. I'm hoping.
Who's the greedy orange guy? The Larfleeze?
Larfleeze.
I want to see him.
You want to see the whole spectrum. I mean, I know that's true. But I'm excited about that because I'm a procedurals guy. You give me a bad, cop show or like science show or something like that, where they're investigating mysteries, I'm in. And then,
an intergalactic
and
cop
now I get
show.
to see an intergalactic one.
That's cool.
So I'm down with that. But I want to talk about something that's going to be very, very worrisome for you, Joe.
Yeah.
And that is The Brave and the Bold.
Well, why is that?
Now,
Because the
I know-
TV show is great.
Well,
but,
I know
yeah.
you. Well,
but Batman, the Brave and the Bold.
It's going to be a little more. It's going to be a little more theatrical. A little probably a family-friendly Batman.
Okay.
But not a childish Batman. Because our first, Batman's he's seasoned. He's been out there for a while. The movie is going to start off with him and Damian trying to work out their dynamic, which means that we're also going to probably get a chance to see Nightwing. We're probably going to get a chance to see Red Hood and Tim Drake and all these other characters because he said this will be our first glimpse at the Bat family. So what's going on in the DCU will be the Batman that you're used to from the comics with his various supporting characters, while Matt Reeves is going to give you that really good noir, detective Batman that we got, of course, in the first movie.
But this is live action you're talking about. Because we've seen it a lot in the animated, but we haven't seen it in
this is a
action
live action film, which means that by the time this goes into production, we're going to get to learn who our other Batman is in the universe.
Yeah. This is the one I'm least excited. Because I just never liked Robin, and I hate the notion that Damian even exists. But I hate to say
Damian's one of the greatest DC characters out there right now, and it's really sad.
If Damian was by himself, but just the fact, never mind. I don't want to get into it because I don't want to be a hater. But go ahead.
You are. I mean,
let's get to one of my favorites. Let's go
we're not going to talk about Swamp Thing at all.
Come on. Swamp Thing and Booster. Come on.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Swamp Thing and Booster, if we have time. But no, Swamp Thing is, it's going to be a feature film. And what's really great about it is it's going to be a horror movie, but it's going to still be just as connected to the new DCU storyline as anything else.
When's the last time we saw Swamp Thing besides animated?
HBO Max, or when the DC, streaming service first hit, where they were going to have cartoons, TV series, and comics that you could read online. One of their first things they did was a Swamp Thing series.
Okay.
And if it had had a better budget and marketing, it would have probably. It's actually really good. It's got those horror elements, but it may have leaned a little too far in to the Vertigo universe, and I think that may have turned some people off. It makes me excited because those are that's my
Well,
Swamp
it should
Thing.
be. It's sort of a horror thing. I mean, that's kind of
Now we're also getting, as far as movies go, we're also getting The Authority, which are your take no prisoners, win at any cost, superheroes.
They're a newer creation, right? I've
Well,
never.
I mean, they've been around for 20 years, but yeah.
That's newer, and DC characters are 80 plus years old. So
True.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not going to get too much into those because, again, this is an early Sunday morning show.
Yeah.
But we're also getting Paradise Lost, which takes place about 100 years before the birth of Diana on Themyscira. So we're going to get to see the politics and all of Themyscira. And
Paradise Island, basically.
Yeah, right.
So
which we haven't gotten a whole lot of details about how that's going. But we are also getting the series Booster Gold, which Michael Carter, disgraced football player from the future, steals Skeet's costume and all these other gadgets, goes back in time and becomes one of the world's most
self-promoting
superhero. Yeah.
Yes.
Honestly,
he's a very ego-driven.
He should have a NASCAR type, jumpsuit with logos on it.
Right. Yeah.
He'd sell ad space.
He
He'd
makes
sell
sure
it.
everybody knows what good deeds he's done.
Right.
Yeah, but that's going to be a comedy.
That'll be your comedy taking it, but I don't think it'll go as as vulgar as Peacemaker, but it's going to be probably the same kind of laughs.
Okay. Well, I guess we just got to wait and see what they bring us, right? Because
and we've already got people who are upset about what's coming on. I mean, but there's people who weren't going to give James Gunn a chance. It's like, guys, you're not getting your Snyderverse back. Get over it. If you can't get over it, just stop watching them.
I feel like
Talk with your wallet, not your Twitter account.
I hope he does what he says. Like I said, if story is at the top of it and staying out of the director's ways and letting them do letting them do their thing, because I think that's what people said about working. Like we said, the Marvel universe is basically what Kevin Feige wants. Kevin's going to get, and the notion that there's a single feel to every movie. Yeah. So
this is going to be like working with Netflix.
And I guess they're taking advantage of the new platforms and everything that they've got, all the delivery mechanisms they've got. So, okay. All right. Now, when we come back, we promise we're going to talk about science and the fact that the Earth's core has stopped rotating.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. Their superpower is watching TV and arguing about it. The Geek Patrol is back.
It's not something everybody can do, Alan. If it was, is there an Olympic sport for that? I mean, Brandon, you'd be the gold medal champion on that.
There's not an Olympic
They'd
sport.
have to come up with a platinum medal as good as I'd be.
There's a job, and it's called a critic, and I once heard a good quote. No one's ever built a statue to a critic.
Huh. No, that's true. Yeah, we don't have... Even Roger Ebert, may he rest in peace. Anyway.
That's true, because they would nitpick it.
That's because Roger Ebert was the hack. Gene Siskel was the good one.
Anyway.
I said it, and I will say it again.
Okay. Welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And we must get to this. We've talked enough about DC and Brandon's travails. And just a quick reminder, if you miss any of Geek Tank Radio, never fear. Alan, you post everything on our Facebook page. You post links. Go to geektankradio.com.
Go to geektankradio.com, and you can enjoy us on YouTube and Spotify.
You can listen to Joe Flub all of our locations.
Exactly.
Yes.
Binge listen to years of Geek Tank content. But Alan, so in science,
Inside.
this sounded like terrible news. This sounded
Because you're
awful,
such
like
nerds.
Earth-ending news. But is this a big deal?
Well, all right. If you're a seismologist or you're a geologist or you're, into Earth studies, this is huge.
Okay.
If you're into disaster movies or really good sci-fi stuff that with terrible plot lines, congratulations.
This
here,
is
here
fun.
we are. Okay, the way the Earth is made, we got a crust, we got a mantle, we got a liquid inner core, and we got a solid inner core.
Basically, what he's telling you, Joe, is that the Earth is a giant fidget spinner.
It is.
Wait a minute. I thought the Earth's core was molten and not solid.
Well, it has a liquid outer core, and the very centerpiece of it is a big old lump of iron.
It's a giant ball bearing.
And
okay.
it spins.
Yeah.
And however, because of the viscosity difference and the distance difference, if you've ever watched them at the Ice Capade's Folly, the guy on the end of the circle, when they begin swinging it around, he's going 70 miles an hour.
Right.
The guy in the
inner
middle
one
is
is
going
barely
1
moving.
foot.
Right. Okay.
So these
It's a good way to
things-
visualize it.
These things go at different speeds, and periodically it reaches a point of equilibrium where kind of the center kind of pauses, and occasionally it goes back the other direction. How do we know this? Well, we've been studying earthquakes and seismic waves since we could figure out there were earthquakes and seismic waves.
Which has been how
basically,
long?
A
few
couple of hundred
Okay.
years.
All right.
Really good in the last 100 years, really good in the last 70 to 50 years.
We keep getting better.
Yeah. So
Like
most
a
of our
fine
history
wine.
we didn't know.
But,
Or Geek Tank Radio.
Right.
You can kind of guess and make, and make inferences. And they noticed over the last 10 years that a lot of the temporal changes, and basically everybody goes, well, how do you study this? Well, every time there's an earthquake or there's a seismic event somewhere, it's basically like smacking the pipes on the earth and listening to how they sound as they ring through the building.
Okay.
Because an earthquake on the other side of the planet does send waves all the way through. So you get a point to start.
That was you throwing out a hello to our HVAC guys, huh?
It was. So here we go. It kind of slowed down and that kind of started going back the other way. The cool thing is, because these things spin, we get a magnetosphere. The Earth is protected. No, the Earth is not going to end. The headline is just there. If you're a real science nerd, this is kind of a big event. It happens maybe once in your lifetime.
Surely there's got to be effects from this, though. I mean, I'm just picturing if you were in a giant ball and at the very center of it, things are changing and moving and stopping.
Yeah, apparently.
Doesn't it affect what's going on the surface? I mean, I have to
Apparently,
believe
it
there's-
totally screws up my karma.
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
apparently
look what it did to Brandon.
Hey,
I mean,
Brandon's car.
it's exactly.
Well, here's the cool thing. So this is the first time in modern technology, the last 50 years, that this has happened. So now we can really get a good grip on what actually does happen.
Yeah, it seems like it's got to be something. So,
Well, I'm sure there is, and I'm going to watch this and let you know if they kind of go, oh, by the way, the aurora, down in the South Pole is a lot better than the North Pole now. We'll find out. But it just kind of happened. So we're going to follow it and hang on to it.
and I have to believe too that if it's just static, that's not a good thing either. It needs to be moving to
It
create.
slowed down,
Yeah.
kind of going back the other direction. So it's kind of one of these cool things you find out's going on. It's been going on all this time. We're just now paying attention to it.
That's what's different these days. We're getting the detection of abilities and the detection
Exactly.
capabilities to figure out, and then to sort of backtrack and go, okay, well, let's infer what happened.
Oh, this has been
2,000
going on
years ago
for
or so,
millennia,
Right.
And we just now figured it out. So that's basically the big news to this is we saw it.
Okay, so don't panic, because I guess what was that movie when they
Was it the core or something like that? Was it Brandon? I look at Brandon for
Yeah,
a movie
The Core.
title immediately and go,
terrible.
terrible geology movie.
I thought it was the global warming movie where the poles suddenly
2012.
then the North Pole became Mexico or something like that or whatever.
Yeah,
the
this is
Earth
bad.
spins over
And
its
then there's
side.
Waterworld.
Water.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh,
gosh.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm more excited about in science right now is the fact that the colossal biotech company just raised $150 million to de-extinct the dodo bird.
That's their name?
That's the name of the company.
Yes. That sounds like a supervillain.
Do we even have time to scrap? Okay, well, Allan, we teased it, but
we're going to tease it. We're going to talk about it for 2 seconds.
Okay.
Of basically, welcome to CRISPR and gene editing and all of that kind of stuff. Because, we've been talking about bringing back the woolly mammoth for a while. Mm-hmm. They've been talking about bringing back the thylacine for a while. Well, this company has decided we're going to go for the trifecta. We could bring back the thylacine. We could bring back the woolly mammoth. And just in case we needed a real challenge, we're going to bring back something that laid eggs.
You get a dodo, and you get a dodo, and you get a dodo.
I've heard dodo birds were jerks. Isn't that true? Like, weren't they just bad parents? They abandoned their kids.
We don't
they
know.
Eat everybody's stuff.
We don't know. We maybe
ate
that's
them
why
out
they
of
went
extinct.
extinct.
Everybody ganged up against them.
No. The reason they went extinct is apparently they're tasty.
Yeah. Well, let's keep them away from Allan then.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's here we go. So we're going to follow up on this a little bit more, but letting everybody know there was a whole lot of money raised to make this happen.
Okay. What a weird show. I'm just going to end it here, you guys. No time for pleasantries. Until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
I'm Allan Gilbreth.
I'm Maximilian.
And I'm Brandon Olmsted. And like a drunken frat bro or the Earth's core, we'll spin back to you next week.